All right, we're back.
Hello. Welcome to back.
Yay! So
Huzzah!
you've only read Anne of Green Gables, right? Because
I
that's
have only read Anne of Green Gables, yes.
same. Okay, we're on equal footing here.
I would say so.
Yeah, I did start reading this a while ago, but I never returned to it. I think this will
We're
be
on
my.
equal footing. I've already read part of it.
But I barely remember it. Where, yeah, and what I mean by that is, like, I don't remember it to the point where it's like, I think I vaguely remember at the end of Anne of Green Gables, she grows up a bit and she graduates school to become a teacher, right? She's going to college to become a teacher?
So she went to finishing school, learned to become a teacher in record time, and had the highest English scores, which got her a scholarship for the university. However, as she was getting ready to go off and enjoy this scholarship, Matthew Cuthbert got a letter. So for those not already familiar with Matthew Cuthbert, so Matthew and Maria Cuthbert are the couple. Well, they're not really a couple. They are a brother and sister who adopted Anne Shirley. And so Matthew gets this letter saying that the bank where all of his finances have been handled has failed. Which in those days, there's no federal insurance for bank deposits. So when the bank fails, you lose all your money that you have stored at the bank. And Matthew had all of his money stored there, which meant that he was effectively broke. And this news shocked him so badly that he had a heart attack and died.
Yep.
And Maria finally got to see an eye doctor. And the eye doctor told her that she had to stop reading and straining her eyes on anything particularly difficult or she would go blind. And so she was getting ready to sell Green Gables. And Anne tells her, no, don't sell Green Gables. I have already picked up, or I've already decided that I'm going to be a teacher. And so she goes off and finds out that not only is she totally cool with being a teacher, the school in Avonlea, which had originally gone to her longtime childhood rival, Gil, had actually been recently vacated so that she could take on the teaching position. And her longtime school rival had instead chosen to go to the next town over. So even if she didn't take the school teacher position, it wouldn't do him any good because he's already got a job somewhere else. So she gets kind of almost pulled into this position of being a school teacher in Avonlea.
Right.
And that is roughly where Anne of Green Gables leaves off.
Good string of events after such a tragic moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's find out how this all works out for Anne and Maria.
And will Gilbert Blythe make a return? All right.
Anne of Avonlea by Lucy Maud Montgomery. Dedicated to the former teacher Hattie Gordon Smith.
We love you, Hattie. Turn page. Oh, in grateful remembrance of her, simply an encouragement.
Flowers spring to blossom where she walks. The careful ways of duty are hard, stiff lines of life with her are flowering curves of beauty. Whittier.
Thanks, Whittier. Now to read all the table of contents. He just read all the table of contents. Would you like to just start and have the honors of starting and doing thing?
Yeah, I can start us out here.
Go.
I think I would quite enjoy that, actually. Chapter 1. An Irate Neighbor. A tall, slim girl, half past 16, with serious grey eyes and hair which her friends called auburn, had sat down on the broad red sandstone doorstep of a Prince Edward Island farmhouse one ripe afternoon in August, firmly resolved to construe so many lines of Virgil. But an August afternoon, with blue hazes scarfing the harvest slopes, little winds whispering elfishly in the poplars, and dancing splendor of red poppies outflaming against the dark coppice of young firs, in a corner of the cherry orchard, was fitter for dreams than dead languages. The Virgil soon slipped unheeded to the ground, and Anne, her chin propped on her clasped hands, and her eyes on the splendid mass of fluffy clouds that were heaping up just over Mr. J.A. Harrison's house, like a great white mountain, was far away in a delicious world where a certain schoolteacher was doing wonderful work, shaping the destinies of future statesmen and inspiring youthful minds and hearts with high and lofty ambitions. To be sure, if you came down to harsh facts, which it must be confessed Anne seldom did until she had to, it did not seem likely that there was much promising material for celebrities in Avonlea school, but you could never tell what might happen if a teacher used her influence for good. Anne had certain rose-tinted ideals of what a teacher might accomplish if she only went the right way about it, and she was just in the midst of a delightful scene, 40 years hence, with a famous personage. Just exactly what he was to be famous for was left in convenient haziness, but Anne thought it would be rather nice to have him a college president or a Canadian premier. Bowing low over her wrinkled hand and assuring her that it was she who had first kindled his ambition, and that all his success in life was due to the lessons she had instilled so long ago in Avonlea school. This pleasant vision was shattered by a most unpleasant interruption. A demure little Jersey cow came scuttling down the lane, and 5 seconds later Mr. Harrison arrived. If arrived be not too mild a term to describe the manner of his irruption into the yard. He bounced over the fence without waiting to open the gate, and angrily confronted an astonished Anne, who had risen to her feet and stood looking at him in some bewilderment. Mr. Harrison was their new right-hand neighbor, and she had never met him before, although she had seen him once or twice. How far do you want me to go before swapping out?
How about now?
Alrighty.
Full Metal Alchemist, then. In early April, before Anne had come home from Queens, Mr. Robert Bell, whose farm adjoined the Cuthbert place on the west, had sold out and moved to Charlottetown. Is it Charlottetown or Charlottetown?
Charlottetown.
Charlottetown. Not Charlatan. His farm had been bought by a certain Mr. J.A. Harrison, whose name and the fact that he was a New Brunswick man were all that was known about him. But before he had been a month in Avonlea, he won the reputation of being an odd person, a crank, Mrs. Rachel Lynde said. Mrs. Rachel was an outspoken lady, as those of you who may have already made her acquaintance will remember. Mr. Harrison was certainly different from other people, and that is the essential characteristic of a crank, as everybody knows. In the first place, he kept house for himself and had publicly stated that he wanted no fools of women around his diggings. Feminine Avonlea took its revenge by the gruesome tales it related about his housekeeping and cooking. He had hired little John Henry Carter of White Sands, and John Henry started the stories. For one thing, there was never any stated time for meals in the Harrison establishment. Mr. Harrison got a bite when he felt hungry. If John Henry were around at that time, he came in for a share. But if he were not, he had to wait until Mr. Harrison's next hungry spell. John Henry mournfully averred that he would have starved to death if it wasn't that he got home on Sundays and got a good filling up, and that his mother always gave him a basket of grub to take back with him on Monday mornings. Necromancer.
Oh, dear.
Man, I won the Odd Person Award long ago. Alright,
Yeah.
well...
Although, there's odd people, and then there's cranks.
Yeah, well, if you aspire to be the next crank of Avonlea, maybe...
You might have to move to Avonlea.
You might have to move Avonlea, yeah. As for washing dishes, Mr. Harrison never made any pretense of doing it unless a rainy Sunday came. Ew. Then he went to work and washed them all at once in the rainwater hogshead and left them to drain dry. What? These are good stories. Again, Mr. Harrison was close. When he was asked to subscribe to the Reverend Mr. Allen's salary, he said he'd wait to see how many dollars worth of good he got out of his preaching first. He didn't believe in buying a pig and a poke, and when Mrs. Lind went to ask for a contribution to missions, and incidentally to see the inside of the house, of course she would, he told her there were more heathens among the old woman gossips in Avonlea than anywhere else he knew of, and he'd cheerfully contribute to a mission for Christianizing them if she'd undertake it. Mrs. Rachel got herself away and said it was a mercy poor Mrs. Robert Bell was safe in her grave, for it would have broken her heart to see the state of her house, in which she used to take so much pride. Why, she scrubbed the kitchen floor every second day, Mrs. Lynn told Marilla Cuthbert, indignantly. And if you could see it now, I had to hold up my skirts as I walked across it. Finally, Mr. Harrison kept a parrot called Ginger. Nobody in Avonlea ever kept a parrot before. Consequently, that proceeding was considered barely respectable. In such a parrot, if you took John Henry Carter's word for it, never was such an unholy bird. It swore terribly. Mrs. Carter would have taken John Henry away at once if she had been sure she could get another place for him. Besides, Ginger had bitten a piece right out of the back of John Henry's neck one day when he had stooped down too near the cage. Mrs. Carter showed everybody the mark when the luckless John Henry went home on Sundays. Full Metal Alchemist. How well does it pay to be the odd person in Avonlea? Can you make a career out of it?
I mean, it depends on what else you're doing. It's not the sort of thing that takes all of your time, but simply all of your being.
Do you have to do odd jobs to be an odd person?
I don't know. I think it might help if you got even when you're being odd. It's like two odds make an even, but an odd and even makes an even odd.
Necromancer also says, gatherings of old women scare me. Their ability to know everything and judge people is too powerful. Or just, it's the power we need in this world right now.
Oh, I don't know. I've known quite a few old women who would very quickly invoke something that I don't think any of us would appreciate in our daily lives, but there is also something to be said for the wisdom of a proper gathering of a coven, and I'm not going to tell anybody that we shouldn't be gathering.
Let's see. Oh, who's this? First time chatter.
I don't actually know this
PPR
individual.
Pepper.
Hello?
Every town needs an oddball. Sometimes a few.
Sometimes. Very much so.
Yo, Jenna.
Why do they call it even when you
Wow.
odd in the cold food, odd hot even the food?
Is that supposed to be the title of a book because of all the capitalization? I think I love it. I think it'd be a good play.
It certainly sounds curious. It makes me wonder where the food is coming from if we're getting the odd even food.
Yeah. Welcome,
Or
Jenna.
even the odd food. Yes, welcome in, Jenny. You have decided you will only speak in magazine case? I approve.
Lovely.
Oh my goodness. That's so fun. But yes, welcome in. All these things flashed through Anne's mind as Mr. Harrison stood, quite speechless with wrath apparently, before her. In his most amiable mood, Mr. Harrison could not have been considered a handsome man, for he was short and fat and bald, and now, with his round face purple with rage and his prominent blue eyes almost sticking out of his head, Anne thought he was really the ugliest person she had ever seen. All at once, Mr. Harrison found his voice.
"I'm not going to put up with this," he sputtered. "Not a day longer, do you hear me, miss? Bless my soul, this is the third time, miss, the third time. Patience has ceased to be a virtue, miss. I warned your aunt last time not to let it occur again, and she's let it, she's done it. What does she mean by it? That is what I want to know. That is what I'm here about, miss."
"Will you explain what the trouble is?" asked Anne in her most dignified manner. She had been practicing it considerably of late to have it in good working order when school began, but it had no apparent effect on irate Mr. J.A. Harrison.
"Trouble is, bless my soul, trouble enough, I should think. The trouble is, miss, that I found that Jersey cow of your aunt's in my oats again not half an hour ago. The third time, mark you. I found her last Tuesday, and I found her in yesterday. I came here and told your aunt not to let it occur again. She has let it occur again. Where's your aunt, miss? I just want to see her for a minute and give her a piece of my mind. A piece of J.A. Harrison's mind, miss.
I just want to talk to her. I just want to talk to her.
Just want to talk to her.
If you mean Miss Maria Cuthbert, she is not my aunt, and she has gone down to East Grafton to see a distant relative of hers, who is very ill, said Anne with due increase of dignity at every word. I am very sorry that my cow should have broken into your oats. She is my cow, and not Miss Cuthbert's. Matthew gave her to me 3 years ago when she was a little calf, and he bought her from Mr. Bell.
Sorry, miss. Sorry isn't going to help matters any. You'd better go and look at the havoc that animal has made in my oats. Trampled them from center to circumference, miss.
I am very sorry, but perhaps if you kept your fences in better repair, Dolly might not have broken in. It is your part of the line, the fence that separates your oat field from our pasture, and I noticed the other day that it was not in very good condition.
My fence is all right,
snapped Mr. Harrison, angrier than ever at his carrying the war into the enemy's country.
The jail fence couldn't keep that demon of a cow like that out. And I can tell you, you red-headed snippet, that if the cow is yours, as you'd say, you'd better be employed in watching her out of other people's grain than sitting round reading yellow-covered novels.
With a scathing glance at the innocent tan-colored Virgil by Anne's feet. Something at that moment was read.
I have a question.
Oh, what's up? What's up?
Were yellow-covered novels of a certain genre?
You know, I'm not actually familiar with yellow-covered novels as a classification.
Mm-hmm.
My first thought would be that he's referring to it as kind of like a well-worn copy that pages yellow with age and in the sun, but that is just me guessing based on context. That is not something that I already know for sure. But it'd be an interesting thing to look up, and I would certainly want to know if somebody knows. Pepper says cheaper, like Pulp Fiction.
I see.
Okay.
Thank you for lurking, Wayward Bard. Wayward Bard.
Yep.
Wayward Bayard also works, but not your name.
And Pepper, thank you very much for the clarification. I think that makes quite a bit of sense, too.
Yeah, I like that. Makes sense.
Something at that moment was read beside Anne's hair, which had always been a tender point with her. I'd rather have red hair than none at all, except a little fringe around my ears, she flashed. The shot told, for Mr. Harrison was really very sensitive about his bald head. His anger choked him up again, and he could only glare speechlessly at Anne, who recovered her temper and followed up her advantage. I can make allowance for you, Mr. Harrison, because I have an imagination. I can easily imagine how very tiring it must be to find a cow in your oats, and I shall not cherish any hard feelings against you for the things you've said. I promise you that Dolly shall never break into your oats again. I give you my word of honor on that point,
Well, mind you, she doesn't.
muttered Mr. Harrison in a somewhat subdued tone, but he stamped off angrily enough that Anne heard him growling to himself until he was out of earshot. Anne finally made peace with her hair. You know, Necromancer, she's at least matured enough that she's not flying off the handle entirely.
Yeah.
But those were some stinging words that she let out on him, and the way I'm reading this is she knows that she's still a little more sensitive about that.
Yeah. No, there's.
Yeah.
I bet if he flung another insult about red hair at her, it may escalate things.
Yeah, it's, but all the same. Grievously disturbed in mind, Anne marched across the yard and shut the naughty Jersey up in the milking pen. She can't possibly get out of that unless she tears the fence down, she reflected. She looks pretty quiet now. I dare say she has sickened herself on those oats. If only I'd sold her to Mr. Shiro when he wanted her last week. But I thought it was just as well to wait until we had the auction of the stock and let them all go together. I believe it is true about Mr. Harrison being a crank. Certainly there's nothing of a kindred spirit about him. Anne had always a weather eye open for kindred spirits. Maria Cuthbert was driving into the yard as Anne returned from the house, and the latter flew to get tea ready. They discussed the matter over the tea table. "I'll be glad when the auction is over," said Maria. "It is too much responsibility having so much stock about the place and nobody but that unreliable Martin to look after them. He has never come back yet, and he promised that he would certainly be back last night if I'd give him the day off to go to his aunt's funeral. I don't know how many aunts he has got, I am sure. That's the fourth that's died since he hired here over a year ago. I'll be more than thankful when that crop is in and Mr. Barry takes over the farm. We'll have to keep Dolly shut up in the pen till Martin comes, for she must be put back in the pasture, and the fences there have to be fixed. I declare it's a world of trouble, as Miss Rachel says. Here's poor Mary Keith dying, and what is to become one of those two children of hers is more than I know. She has a brother in British Columbia, and she has written to him about them, but she hasn't heard from him yet. Full Metal Alchemist. Oh, Necromancer thinks Anne could take him.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Suplex. Maybe.
Oh, a suplex isn't nearly as romantic as another form of strike, though. Couldn't you just see it? Bringing a knife to such a fight and ending it elegantly.
I would say judo. In honor of Yawara, a fashionable judo girl. Jenna, if you're listening, he knows what I'm talking about. Full Metal Alchemist. What are the children like? How old are they? 6 past. They're twins. Also, is it Maria or Marilla? I've always pronounced Marilla.
So I read it with French spelling.
Right.
So that the two L's would be a y sound. I can just look this up because
I would love to know. In the anime, they say Marilla, I believe, but that's also anime. Not their English is not their first language. Pepper. Yeah, you're welcome. I love Anne. I loved Anne of Green Gables, and I started reading this a while ago, and I figured let's, and then Celine just finished it, so now it's like we're synced up.
Yep. We just
synced up on the
finished it
Anne
at the end
lore.
of December.
So pronunciation?
I am still trying to find a pronunciation guide for this one.
Eurymachus, Telemachus, Telemachus.
whole bunch of AI answers which aren't very helpful,
Oh.
since the answers don't actually contain the answer I seek, too. Oh, my goodness.
Necromancer. I was thinking of what weapon Anne might use, and now I'm picturing a book bound by thick metal chains, covered by spikes attached to a chain like a flail. Flail? Do you mean say flail? And I'm finding somewhere to use this. I can see that. Like a grimoire.
I will keep searching. You go ahead and continue on and use whatever pronunciation you feel is
I
appropriate.
shall. Oh, I've always been especially interested in twins ever since Mrs. Hammond had so many, said Anne angrily. Are they pretty? Goodness, you couldn't tell. They were too dirty. Davy had been making mud pies, and Dora went out to call him in. Davy pushed her head first into the biggest pie, and then, because she cried, he got into it himself and wallowed in it to show her it was nothing to cry about. Mary said Dora was really a very good child, but that Davy was full of mischief. He has never had any bringing up, you might say. His father died when he was a baby, and Mary has been sick ever since. I'm always sorry for children that have no bringing up, Anne said soberly. You know, I hadn't had any until you took me in hand. I hope their uncle will look after them. Just what relation is Mrs. Keith to you? Mary? None in the world. It was her husband. He was our third cousin. There's Mrs. Lynde coming through the yard. I thought she'd be up to hear about Mary. Don't tell her about Mr. Harrison and the cow, implored Anne. Marilla promised. But the promise was quite unnecessary, for Mrs. Lynde was no sooner fairly seated than she said, I saw Mr. Harrison chasing your jersey out of his oats today when I was coming home from Carmody. Is Carmody correct? Carmody?
And that's how I've been pronouncing it.
Okay. I thought he
But
looked
then again,
pretty mad. Mm-hmm.
I've apparently been pronouncing Marilla wrong this entire time.
Oh.
So.
Well, we're not keeping score. Or...
If we are, the scoreboard's hidden anyway.
I thought he looked pretty mad. Did he make much of a rumpus? Anne and Marilla furtively exchanged amused smiles. Few things in Avonlea ever escaped Mrs. Lynde. It was only that morning, Anne had said, if you went to your own room at midnight, locked the door, pulled down the blind, and sneezed, Mrs. Lynde would ask you the next day how your cold was. I believe he did, admitted Marilla. I was away. He gave Anne a piece of his mind. I think he is a very disagreeable man, said Anne, with a resentful toss of her ruddy head. You never said a truer word, said Mrs. Rachel solemnly. I knew there'd be trouble when Robert Bell sold his place to a New Brunswick man, that's what. I don't know what Avonlea is coming to. So many strange people rushing into it. It'll soon not be safe to go sleep in our beds. Oh my God. Why? What other strangers are coming in? Asked Marilla. Haven't you heard? Well, there's a family of Donnells, for one thing. They've rented Peter Sloane's old house. Peter has hired the man to run his mill. They belong down east, and nobody ever knows anything about them. Then that shiftless Timothy Cotton family are going to move up from White Sands, and they'll simply be a burden on the public. He's in consumption when he isn't stealing. And his wife is a slack-twisted creature that can't turn her hand into a thing. Can't turn her hand to a thing, I might say. She washes her dishes sitting down. Mrs. George Pye has taken her husband's orphan nephew Anthony Pye. He'll be going to school to you, Anne. So you may expect trouble, that's what. Oh yes, the Pye family is trouble. And you'll have another strange pupil too. Paul Irving is coming from the States to live with his grandmother. Remember his father, Marilla? Stephen Irving, him that jilted Lavender Lewis over at Grafton. I don't think he jilted her. There was a quarrel, I suppose. There was blame on both sides. Well, anyway, he didn't marry her, and she's been as queer as possible ever since, they say, living all by herself in that little stone house she calls Echo Lodge. Stephen went off to the States and went into business with his uncle and married a Yankee. He's never been home since, though his mother has been up to see him once or twice. His wife died 2 years ago, and he's sending the boy home to his mother for a spell. He's 10 years old, and I don't know if he'll be a very desirable pupil. You can never tell about those Yankees. I keep wanting to add words here and there.
You do, but
you just get into a pattern
tell with
of
those
speech.
Yankees.
Yeah. you
Washing
just would
dishes sitting
think she would
down
add
sounds
words
awesome.
like that.
Well,
Washing
I
dishes.
suppose those old Yankees are just as disreputable as any of the other Yankees, so if you want to call them the old Yankees, I'd say you may as well.
That's true. Washing dishes sitting down sounds awesome.
I could wash dishes sitting down.
Yeah, you could. I would need, like, a bar stool. I don't know. I have to think on that one.
You're just sizing up your dishwashing sink.
Mm-hmm. Hello, Klaus.
Hello, Klaus. Welcome in. How you doing, dearie? Anyway,
Mrs.
so yes.
Lin. Yeah. What were you gonna say?
You never can tell about those old Yankees.
Yes, you never can tell about those old Yankees. I'm sorry you're not doing well. I hope our reading brings you a little niceness. Mrs. Lind looked upon all people who had the misfortune to be born or brought up elsewhere than in Prince Edward Island with the decided can any good thing come out of the Nazareth air? They might be good people, of course, but you were on the safe side in doubting it. She had a special prejudice against Yankees. Her husband had been cheated out of $10 by an employer for whom he had once worked in Boston, and neither angels nor principalities nor powers could have convinced Miss Rachel that the whole United States was not responsible for it. Avonlea School won't be the worse for a little new blood, said Marilla dryly, and if this boy is anything like his father, he'll be all right. Steve Irving was the nicest boy that was ever raised in these parts, though some people did call him proud. I should think Mrs. Irving would be very glad to have the child. She has been very lonesome since her husband died. Oh, the boy may be well enough, but he'll be different from Avonlea children, said Mrs. Rachel, as if that clinched the matter. Mrs. Rachel's opinions concerning any person, place, or thing were always warranted to wear. What's this I hear about your going to start a village improvement society, Anne? I was just talking it over with some of the girls and boys at the last debating club, said Anne, flushing. They thought it would be rather nice, and so do Mr. and Mrs. Allen. Lots of villages have them now. Well, you'll get into no end of hot water if you do. Better leave it alone, Anne. That's what people don't like being improved. Oh, we are not going to try.
Hey, wait up right quick. How tight is that shit?
Thank you for the sound bite. I wasn't expecting that. Okay. Oh, we are not going to try to improve the people. It is Avonlea itself. There are lots of things which might be done to make it prettier. For instance, if we could coax Mr. Levi Bolter to pull down that dreadful old house on his upper farm, wouldn't that be an improvement? Oh, it certainly would, admitted Mrs. Rachel. That old ruin has been an eyesore on the settlement for years, but if you improvers can coax Levi Bolter to do anything for the public that he isn't to be paid for doing, may I be there to see and hear the process? That's what. I don't want to discourage you, Anne, for there may be something in your idea, though I suppose you did get it out of some rubbishy Yankee magazine. But you'll have your hands full with your school, and I advise you as a friend not to bother with your improvements, that's what. But there, I know you'll go ahead with it if you've got your mind set on it. You were always one to carry a thing through somehow. Something about the firm outlines of
She
Anne's
certainly
lips.
has
told-
been.
Yes. Tree Blood, hello! There is a Celine here.
Hey, love. Good to see you.
Let me see. I was joking, but there's literally the person's counter argument. Wait, let me go back in the chat. What were we talking about?
Improve things? How dare she? It was a joke, but that's literally what Mrs. Linda is saying, yes.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. Thank you, Pepper, for the follow.
Apparently, Klaus thinks that it's Tree's imagination that I'm here. I guess I'm just the voice inside your head, Satil.
So true. Came from the cloud above in my little chat here. Something
What,
about
are
the
you gonna
firm
shove me
outlines-
up into the cloud, turn me ghostly again?
No, we already... Well, I won't say. There's a secret on the stream. Secret people have to find and redeem. Something about the firm outlines of Anne's lips told Mrs. Rachel that was not far astray in this estimate. Anne's heart was bent on forming the Improvement Society. Gilbert Blythe, who was to teach in White Sands, but would always be home from Friday night to Monday morning, was enthusiastic about it. And most of the other folks were willing to go in for anything that meant occasional meetings and consequently some fun. As for what the improvements were to be, nobody had any very clear idea except Anne and Gilbert. They had talked them over, and planned them out until an ideal Avonlea existed in their minds, if nowhere else. I'm gonna reach for some water, so I'll pass it off to you, Full Metal Alchemist.
Oh, alrighty. Full Metal Alchemist. Oh, does the secret have to do with the blue cloud of dust that looks like it has shadows of items in it? Asks Tree.
There is
I
something
don't know.
beyond what you see. Potentially. I hope, if it's still up.
Dun,
Wait,
dun,
I need to check.
No worries, you go ahead and check. I'll read on here and
Yeah. I also have to make
Looks
sure to
good.
turn the page for you.
Yep. Mrs. Rachel still had another item of news. They've given comedy school to a Priscilla Grant. Didn't you go to Queen's with a girl of that name, Anne? Yes, indeed, Priscilla, to teach at Carmody. How perfectly lovely! Exclaimed Anne, her gray eyes lighting up until they looked like evening stars, causing Mrs. Linda to wonder anew if she would ever get it settled to her satisfaction whether Anne Shirley were really a pretty girl or not. Treeblood only sees the closed captions.
Yeah, actually, I don't think the secret of the stream is on this chatting screen, so I'll have to change that. Oh no, wait, I was
No.
wrong. I'm wrong. The secret of the stream is here.
Ooh.
Yes.
Better pay close attention to the stream then, everybody. You never know.
Yeah.
Alright, do we have another page here? Is this the
Yeah,
end of the chapter?
this is chapter. Game, set, and chapter on number 2.
Alrighty.
Let's keep
Well,
going.
I'm good to keep going if you are.
Yeah.
Chapter 2. Selling in haste and repenting at leisure. Is the secret in the stream or the chat, asks Treeblood.
It's a secret. I'm not gonna tell.
Aww, but the suspense. Will you tell me after stream?
No, it's a secret.
I see. More's the
No, you
pity.
don't. You don't see because it's secret.
Oh, is that how it works?
Yeah, you have to see it.
Anne drove over to Carmody on a shopping expedition the next afternoon and took Diana Barry with her. Diana was, of course, a pledged member of the Improvement Society, and the two girls talked about little else all the way to Carmody and back. The very first thing we ought to do when we get started is to have that hall painted, said Diana as they drove past the Avonlea Hall, a rather shabby building set down in a wooded hollow with spruce trees hooding it out on all sides. It's a disgraceful-looking place, and we must attend to it even before we try to get Mr. Levi Boulder to pull his house down. Father says we'll never succeed in doing that. Levi Boulder is too mean to spend the time it would take. Oh, Necromancer redeemed, I found the secret of the dojo.
Mm-hmm.
And Necromancer is asking, is it that Necromancer's two goblins in a trench coat? Or that Satil is two goblins in a trench coat? Just tell Necromancer where the two goblins in a trench coat are.
No.
Fair enough, and Treeblood is pouting along with me that the secret could potentially go down due to technical difficulties, so it would help to know.
What do you mean? It's not down. I see the secret.
Wait a minute. Really? Really, that's the secret? I can't believe I have to face something like that. That's...
It's been here the whole
Wow.
time.
Here the whole time, indeed.
It's always watching over us. Yeah. From the shadows.
Oh, Tree was pointing out even you didn't seem to know if it's still there.
Yeah, one second. 1 second. Yeah. If you have better Twitch TV or 7 TV, do that. Or is it channel emote? Is it channel emote? Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that was a thing. Oh my goodness. Perhaps he'll let the boys take it down if they promise to haul the boards and split them up for him for kindling wood, said Anne hopefully. We must do our best and be content to go slowly at first. We can't expect to improve everything all at once. We'll have to educate the public sentiment first, of course. Okay, one goblin in the blue dust, says Necromancer. Yep, pretty much. Treeblood wants to know. Don't keep him in suspense. Did he find it? Yes, well, I'm pretty sure you found it. Diana wasn't exactly sure what educating public sentiment meant, but it sounded fine, and she felt rather proud she was going to belong to a society with such an aim in view. I thought of something last night we could do, Anne. You know that 3-cornered piece of ground where the roads from Carmody and Newbridge and White Sands meet? It's all grown over with young spruce, but wouldn't it be nice to have them all cleared out and just leave 2 or 3 birch trees that are on it? Splendid, agreed Dan gaily, and have a rustic seat put under the birches, and when spring comes we'll have a flower bed made in the middle of it and plants
Yeah, sorry. Turn page.
the geraniums. Treeblood wants to know what's his redeem. Does he get a face?
Do you get a face? I haven't thought that far. I just think the secret in itself is a reward. Now you're equipped with the arcane knowledge of the digital dojo, you know.
The odd face. Fair enough. Klaus, I'm sorry that your mind is consumed.
Yeah.
It's very unfortunate.
Scammed? What? No, you gained
As a
knowledge.
blissful greeting.
You gained knowledge. That's not a scam.
Sorry you're struggling there, love.
You're not the. You're one of the only people who knows.
Yes, only we'll have to devise some way of getting old Mrs. Hiram Sloane to keep her cow off the road, or she'll eat our geraniums up, laughed Diana. I begin to see what you mean by educating public sentiment, Anne. There's the old Bolter house now. Did you ever see such a rookery? And perched right close to the road, too. An old house with its windows gone always makes me think of something dead with its eyes poked out. I think an old deserted house is such a sad sight," said Anne dreamily. "It always seems to me to be thinking about its past and mourning for its old-time joys. Maria says that a large family was raised in that house long ago, and that it was a real pretty place with a lovely garden and roses climbing all over it. It was full of little children and laughter and songs, and now it is empty and nothing ever wanders through it but the wind. How lonely and sorrowful it must feel. Perhaps they all come back on moonlit nights, the ghosts of the little children of long ago and the roses and the songs, and for a little while the old house can dream it's young and joyous again." Diana shook her head. Yes, Klaus, I'm aware of what you're talking about. Aw, Tree thought he was getting a new face. Tree, I like your face just the way it is.
Yeah.
Necromancer knows, but officially doesn't because Necromancer used their guess on the joke. Yeah, that happens. And Treeblood thinks a
I
more
know,
fitting
but
reward
officially I don't.
would involve the pit? What
The
pit
pit.
are you talking about?
The
Is this
pit.
one that also has a pendulum swinging back and forth?
A cask
legally
of
speaking,
Amontillado?
Well, no, the pit and the pendulum.
Oh wait, yeah. I'm
Cask of
getting those two
Amontillado
mixed
would be if you know,
Oh, for-
walled somebody into the
yeah.
catacombs.
up. What? It's not part of the the Edgar Allan Poe cinematic universe, you know, where the two are connected somehow.
Cinematic.
Dude, there is kinda technically Roger Corman, kinda. If you think about the Roger Corman movies and how many times they star Vincent Price and oh gosh, Peter Lorre together. I'm just saying. Just saying.
I know nothing, I see nothing, a beating heart under the pit boards. Nicely done. Oh dear.
Yeah. I'm really surprised. I've been wanting you to meet Jenna for a long time. I hope Jenna one day can join us on a Reading Renegades, because I think you two would hit it off swimmingly.
Well, wonderful. Jenna, I'll be looking forward to seeing you next week on Saturday evening, since that is the next time that we are planning a Reading Renegade stream. Maybe you should sleep, Klaus? Yeah, you know, it's okay to sleep and to take care of yourself that way.
Yes.
I know there's a lot of difficult stuff going on in your life, and I do want things to start going better for you. If
Rest
sleep
is
is
best.
what you need, then absolutely get some good rest here. If company is what you need, there is plenty of company here. There's a lot of options. But make sure that you're doing what you need for yourself. That's really the most important part. You're reading The Scarlet Morning while listening? Oh my goodness, that is a level of multitasking I wouldn't be able to hold on to. So,
Same.
color me greatly impressed. And Tree, hypnotizing people, really? Oh dear. Alright, let's see here. Where did I leave off?
I think we're just at the top of the page,
Oh.
aren't we?
Right, yes, we are. Tree follows it up by hypnotizing Klaus.
Oh
Oh
my
my goodness. I never imagined things like that about places now, Anne. Don't you remember how cross Mother and Maria were when we imagined ghosts into the haunted wood? To this day, I can't go through that bush comfortably after dark. If I begin imagining such things about the old Bolter house, I'd be frightened to pass it, too. Besides, those children aren't dead. They're all grown up and doing well. And one of them is a butcher, and flowers and songs couldn't have ghosts anyhow. Anne smothered a little sigh. She loved Diana dearly, and they had always been good comrades, but she had long ago learned that when she wandered into the realm of fancy, she must go alone. The way to it was by an enchanted path where not even her dearest friend might follow. A thunder shower came up while the girls were at Carmody. It did not last long, however, and the drive home through the lanes where the raindrops sparkled on the boughs and the little leafy valleys where the drenched ferns gave out spicy odors was delightful. But just as they turned into the Cuthbert Lane, Anne saw something that spoiled the beauty of the landscape for her. Before them on the right extended Mr. Harrison's broad, gray-green field of late oats, wet and luxuriant. And there, standing squarely in the middle of it, up to her sleek sides in the lush growth and blinking at them calmly over the intervening tassels, was a Jersey cow. Anne dropped the reins and stood up with a tightening of the lips that boded no good to the predatory quadruped. Not a word said she, but she climbed nimbly down over the wheels and whisked across the fence before Diana understood what had happened. "Anne, come back!" shrieked the latter as soon as she found her voice. "You'll ruin your dress in that wet grain! Ruin it!" She doesn't hear me. Well, she'll never get that cow out by herself. I must go and help her, of course. Anne was charging through the grain like a mad thing. Diana hopped briskly down, tied the horse securely to a post, turned the skirt of her pretty gingham dress over her shoulders, mounted the fence, and started in pursuit of her frantic friend. She could run faster than Anne, who was hampered by her clinging and drenched skirt, and soon overtook her. Behind them they left a trail that would break Mr. Harrison's heart when he should see it. "Anne, for mercy's sake, stop! I'm right out of breath, and you are wet to skin. I must get that cow out before Mr. Harrison sees her," gasped Anne. "I don't care if I'm drowned, if we can only do that." But the Jersey cow appeared to see no good reason for being hustled out of her luscious browsing ground. No sooner had the two breathless girls got near her than she turned and bolted squarely for the opposite corner of the field. "Head her off! Run, Diana, run!" Diana did run. Anne tried to, and the wicked Jersey went round the field as if she were possessed. Privately, Diana thought she was. It was fully 10 minutes before they headed her off and drove her through the corner gap into the Cuthbert Lane. There's no denying that Anne is anything but angelic temper There's no denying that Anne was in anything but an angelic temper at that precise moment. Nor did it soothe her to the least to behold a buggy halted just outside the lane, wherein sat Mr. Shearer of Carmody and his son, both of whom wore a broad smile. Cal really said, "Heck the police." Yes!
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That cow does not answer to any authority.
Except the butcher.
Yeah.
Hey!
And the sweet call
I'd
of the
guess
grain.
you'd better have sold me. I'd guess you'd better have sold me that cow when I wanted to buy her last weekend, chuckled Mr. Shearer. "I'll sell her to you now if you want her. You may have her this very minute." "Done. I'll give you 20 for her as I offered before, and Jim here can drive her right over to Carmody. She'll go to town with the rest of the shipment this evening. Mr. Reed of Brighton wants a Jersey cow." 5 minutes later, Jim Shearer and the Jersey cow were marching up the road, and impulsive Anne was driving along the Green Gables lane with her $20. I think I skipped over, it said her flushed and disheveled owner. Oh dear. You know what? I think I'll let you take it from here. Full Metal Alchemist.
Okay. Full Metal Alchemist. What will Marilla say? Oh, she won't care. Dolly was my own cow and isn't likely she'd bring more than $20 at the auction. But oh dear, if Mr. Harrison sees that grain, he will know she has been in it again. And after giving him my word of honor that I'd never let it happen, well, it has taught me a lesson to not give my word of honor about cows. A cow that could jump over or break through our milk pen fence couldn't be trusted anywhere. Marilla had gone down to Mrs. Lynde's, and when she returned, knew all about Dolly's sale and transfer. For Mrs. Lynde, of course, had seen most of the transaction from her window, of course, and guessed the rest. I suppose it's just as well that she's gone, though you do things in a dreadful headlong fashion, Anne. I don't see how she got out of that pen, though. You must have broken some of the boards off. I didn't think of looking, said Anne, but I'll go and see now. Martin has never come back yet, but perhaps more of his aunts have died. I think it's something like Mr. Peter Sloane and the octogenarians. The other evening, Mrs. Sloane was reading a paper, and she said to Mr. Sloane, "I see here another octogenarian has just died. What is an octogenarian, Peter?" And Mr. Sloane said he didn't know, but they must be very sickly creatures, for you never heard tell of them but they were dying. That's the way with Martin's aunts. Martin's just like all the rest of those French, Marilla said in disgust. My goodness. You can't depend on them for a day. Marilla was looking over Anne's Carmody purchases when she heard a shrill shriek in the barnyard. A minute later, Anne dashed into the kitchen, wringing her hands. "Anne Shirley, what's the matter now?" "Oh, Marilla, whatever shall I do? This is terrible, and it's all my fault. Oh, will I ever learn to stop and reflect a little before doing reckless things? Mrs. Lynde always told me I would do something dreadful someday. Now I've done it. And you are the most exasperating girl. What is it that you've done?" "Sold Mr. Harrison's Jersey cow. Mr. Harrison's Jersey cow, the one he brought from Mr. Bell to Mr. Shearer. Dolly is out in the milking pen this very minute." "Anne Shirley, are you dreaming?" "I only wish I
Good
were.
night,
There's no
Klaus.
dream about it, though it's very like a nightmare. Good night, Klaus. Sleep well." There's no dream about it, though it's very like a nightmare, and Mr. Harrison's cow is charlatan by this time. Oh, Marilla, I thought I'd finished getting the scrapes, and here I am in the very worst one I ever was in my life. What can I do? Do? There's nothing to do, child, except go and see Mr. Harrison about it. We can offer him our jersey in exchange, and if he doesn't want to take the money, she's just as good as his. I'm sure he'll be awfully cross and disagreeable about it, though. Moan Anne. He'll be here. Oh, okay.
All right. Well, happy to have you here as well.
Well, I hope we lull you to sleep. I
I'm sure
dare
he'll be
say
awfully
he...
cross and disagreeable.
Yes, I dare say he will. He seems to be an irritable sort of man. I'll go and explain to him if you like. No, indeed, I'm not as mean as that, exclaimed Anne. This is all my fault, and I'm certainly not going to let you take my punishment. I'll go myself, and I'll go at once. The sooner it's over, the better. For it will be terribly humiliating. Poor Anne got her hat and her $20 and was passing out, when she happened to glance through the open pantry door. On the table reposed a nut cake, which she had baked that morning. A particularly toothsome concoction iced with pink icing and adorned with walnuts. Anne had intended it for Friday evening when the youth of Avonlea were to meet at Green Gables to organize the Improvement Society, but what they were compared to the justly offended Mr. Harrison. Anne thought the cake ought to soften the heart of any man, especially one who had to do his own cooking, and she promptly popped it into a box. She would take it to Mr. Harrison as a peace offering. That is, if he gives me a chance to say anything at all, she thought ruefully as she climbed the lane fence and started on a shortcut across the fields, golden in the light of the dreamy August evening. I know now just how people feel who are being led to execution. And that's chapter 3. Chapter 2, leading into chapter 3.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Rescue the cow, Anne. Anarchy cow needs to be rescued, says Necromancer. Klaus is confident that I'll lull him to sleep. An interesting prospect, but I think I might actually have been called away here.
Yeah,
So,
I was going to say this is a good stopping point for me as well.
all right. Well, thank you everyone very much for spending your evening with us here. I know we started out with the Odyssey and ended with Anne of Avonlea, but it's lovely to see everybody. Cake softens Necromancer's heart. Any sweet, really? Well, I'll have to keep that in mind as I go about my business. You never know when you need to soften the heart of Necromancer.
Yes. Well, everyone, I hope you rest well this evening or day or wherever you are. Read a good book. Put your soul at ease. And we will see you on the next stream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Until next time, I'll be waiting.
All right. See y'all around.